Hi, this is Ray Dunlap, and it's time for our monthly chat. It's kind of interesting. I don't know if you heard about it or not, but we have a presidential election coming up in the fall. And we've been getting this question lately, and it is a unique question, but it is something that, as a history major in college, that kind of interests me. Some of my clients want to know, because President Trump, former President Trump, is apparently being indicted in many states, if in actuality he ends up going to prison, it's unlikely, but let's just say that it happens, is he still eligible to run for president? Now, logic would tell you no, but history would tell you he can, because it has happened already in this country before. In the 1920 presidential election, 1920, which the girls at my office believe that I voted in the 1920 presidential election, there was a candidate named Eugene Debs who ran for president on the Socialist Party ticket. And you have to understand, socialism was in its heyday back in the 20s. This is after the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, and there were a lot of people in this country that really rallied toward that socialist movement. It's kind of shocking to think about, but it was a real thing back then. Anyway, Eugene Debs was running for president, but he was actually incarcerated here in Atlanta in the federal penitentiary. He had given a speech in 1918 up in Dayton, Ohio, where he encouraged people to avoid the draft at all costs. And this, of course, was during World War I, and the draft was very, very important to the war effort for the U.S. and its allies. And he encouraged people to avoid the draft, and he was charged with 10 counts of sedition and was convicted and sent to prison. But he was the candidate on the Socialist Party ticket, and he ran for president. And believe it or not, in the presidential election of 1920, he received 918,000 votes for president. Now, that wasn't enough. Warren Harding actually won the presidency that year. But it is kind of curious that Eugene Debs was still allowed to run for president, even though he was sitting in a jail cell in the Atlanta Penitentiary. And the Atlanta Penitentiary, for those of you that don't know, and again, this is just going back to my historical kind of context, has housed some very famous prisoners over the years, including Carlo Ponzi, the famous Ponzi schemer, including Jimmy Burke, who was a notorious gangster in the Lucchese family in New York and was portrayed by Robert De Niro in the movie Goodfellas. Al Capone actually served time at that prison. So there were a number of high-profile prisoners, and one of them was Eugene Debs, who happened to get over 900,000 votes for president. Now, obviously, he didn't win. Warren Harding won. But if he had won, he still would have been able to act as president even though he was in prison. So again, the likelihood that Mr. Trump will actually do time is probably pretty low, but it's interesting to know that even if he does and he gets convicted, but he gets elected, he can still run the country from a jail cell. And that seems so irrational and almost unbelievable, but it is the law. And I just thought that you might enjoy learning a little bit more about this. And I don't think it will happen. Most people don't think it will happen, but it is kind of curious that he can still run, he can still manage his job and the presidency, even if he's still incarcerated. So with that, I'm already tired of this election, and it's only March. We got months to go of I'm sure what'll be endless commercials and cell phone messages and everything else. But I thought that this would be something that would be interesting for you to learn. And again, just going back to my history major roots, we learned this in college, and I just thought I would share it with you. So I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll talk again in a month. Thank you.